How did you end up in the US?
So during my entire startup phase, I realized that personally, I still there was a gap in my learning where I wanted to learn more about how startups function, because I did not have any mentorship or any experience there in terms of startup itself. And in India, it is very, like, back then at least, like 3-4 years back, it was even difficult because startup was not a thing.
Mhm.
People were scared, and at the same time, you make a lot of mistakes and you realize, okay, I probably need a bit more guidance in this space. So
So when
I.
so just to like give it a little bit more
Mhm.
context, right? So when you say guidance in the sense of like operating the startup, or like just in terms of the technical, like, improvements of the product itself, or like overall everything, you mean like in terms of like guidance? Because like I think that is something which I also face even with a decade of experience sometimes, right? So just wanted to know that perspective of that.
It was more along the lines of getting guidance, in terms of running the startup
Hmm.
rather than the technicalities,
Okay.
because technicalities are something which you can still figure out on the go. But running the startup itself,
Hmm.
because there, I feel this is very underrated, where people feel if you have a startup, you don't need any mentorship already. But that is very incorrect. I feel in any life, in any role, you do need mentors and you need mentorship, so you need to seek that guidance from people. Okay, because there's always someone who might have a solution for you, and it is sort of underrated because people feel if I tell somebody about this idea, they might steal it, which
Mm,
is so untrue.
cool. Yeah. That's another mentality thing that I think exists in in this industry, especially because it's so niche. People want to keep hold of their ideas close to their chest. So yeah, I do understand, and I do recognize that you had that issue there. So it's common. So yeah. So what was the thing that you started then thinking about to get more guidance or get yourself more educated?
So I just had a few ideas in mind wherein thought, okay, this might be a good segue for me to, pursue my masters, and specifically United States, because this is the place where startups are born out of.
Mhm.
Like, you have the entire Silicon Valley as an example. I wanted to also learn from the entire mindset of people. What's the mindset here that people have? And also, because it is more like I wanted to see how far I can go here, and I also was sort of comparing in terms of, is the corporate culture in the or the entire industry similar when you see United States versus when you compare India. So I was very curious on that front and I started applying. I was just applying. I applied to probably just 4 places. I was constantly, like, back then I used to discuss this with Ashwini as well. Like how I see it as going ahead, and I just applied. I thought, let's see what
What were
happens.
the four places, if I may ask?
So it was Stanford, Cornell, Duke, and Columbia.
Those are
So
great choices. Yeah.
yeah, many a times people would tell me, it's isn't it like too ambitious? Shouldn't you have like safety schools or something? But I feel when you put yourself into that safety net, you already start feeling, oh, I don't want to put my 100%
You
when I do what I
I'll,
want to do.
I just want to take a quick segue there and let you know. Safety schools, people have told me that as well when I was coming from the UK. I just applied to one school, and that was Riddle. That's it. If I didn't get it, I didn't get it. I didn't care. Luckily enough, Riddle's acceptance rate was horrible, so they accepted me. But that's a different story. But like in general, though, like that was the only school I wanted to go to from the UK when I applied. So I do understand that mindset, because you should never like think like you're over ambitious at all. If you have a plan, you should be going with it. But in general, though, like what was the motivation behind these four schools? Schools, like I know they are big school names and everything, but names are just names. But what was the reason behind? What motivated you to think about these four schools? What were the programs specifically that was like, okay, this is going to help me in my startup journey later on, or my journey with my entrepreneurship later on? What was that thing that motivated you?
So, personally, Stanford, because it was closer to Silicon Valley and they promote a lot of startup culture there.
Mhm.
Um, Then I would say Cornell personally, because again, they have this like Cornell is in upstate New York. So there they are sort of in a bubble where you're forced to, work on things rather than just be distracted by the city noise.
Mhm.
So, and at the same time, Cornell has one of the oldest engineering programs.
Mm.
So you know that there is, a lot to learn as an engineer here. And because I then, like, from that point on, I realized either like go to Stanford, I get into Stanford, or I have to, look at other schools. Um, well, fortunately, unfortunately, I did not get into Stanford, so I realized, okay, I'm going to Cornell now.
What about Duke and the fourth one was, sorry, which one was the fourth one?
Columbia, yeah.
Columbia, yeah. What happened to those?
So, I did get accepted into three of the four schools that I applied to.
Mm-hmm.
But when then I started evaluating what is it exactly my goal, what goal am I trying to achieve here. I like just getting employed was never my goal. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to learn,
Uh-huh.
and Cornell has this huge network because it's also probably one of the youngest Ivies though, but still a lot of entrepreneurship focus which happens here. And also, as I mentioned, engineering, one of the oldest engineering schools comes from here. So and I would say thirdly, diversity part of it. So the first ever um women candidate to ever pursue a PhD was from Cornell.
Great. Okay.
So
Didn't know that.
yeah, that was like a full circle moment again, wherein I was trying to promote women to pursue engineering, and here you already have a proof of, you know this college has done that before. So that sort of motivated me to come here, and again, an experience entirely different in itself.
Great. So what was the program that you were looking for in these four universities exactly for your masters?
So I wanted to pursue something which would help me develop my management skills and at the same time my engineering skills. So with regards to aerospace, many a times, because the industry is so specific to having citizens,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I couldn't do my master's in aerospace because it would be difficult going ahead to navigate myself if I were to, work in the United States.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to, just pursue my career in aerospace engineer, but in engineering for sure.
Hmm.
So I was looking at engineering management programs or something which is specific to management, but at the same time is an engineering program.
Hmm.
And so I started looking at these engineering management programs that made me pursue engineering management here at Cornell.
Okay. So that's the program. So I have done like others like me and Ashwini and everybody. I guess back when we were graduating from our undergrads, I guess the only path for us to think about was just traditional engineering, and then figure out later on how to get a job or how to get into management after experience. Maybe that's the usual, like, at least in aerospace terms, like that's what the mentorship that at least I got was to do that. Um, what was this program in general, now that you're graduated, do you think has enhanced your skill set in that sense, or do you think it was something like, yep, it has given me the experience, but I think it could have been like, maybe like, just for somebody who's actually looking forward for such a program, right? So for them to evaluate the differentials between like doing a master's in a traditional engineering versus a master's in a program which includes management in it, what do you think has been the biggest plus for you in that sense?
So biggest plus for me has been the fact that now I am not afraid to talk to anybody, and at the same time I would say I am not afraid to pitch my ideas to anybody, or just speak, because as engineers we are programmed to like reduce our interactions with people, and I was a very shy person, so for me personally talking to people seemed like a huge pain point.
Hmm. That,
So I feel when you are in a program where it is also you're still pursuing engineering, different engineering courses, but at the same time you also have to do management courses. It forces you to talk to people to sort of convince them. And in the United States, you don't get jobs on campus, right? I mean, you have to put yourself out there. You have to sort of speak to people, try to convince them why you are the better one for the job. So it sort of helps in that aspect majorly.
That's great. Yeah. So like the engineering management courses, like how are they different from like a traditional MBA? Like why did you not think about MBA instead of the engineering management? Like because that's one of the trickiest things that I've heard. Like people like try to decide on, and this is something which confuses a lot of prospective, kids like who are trying to figure out what journey they should take. At least back in my day, I think it was straight up like either you do MBA or you do engineering for your masters, or like a
Yeah.
hybrid program like an engineering management was something which my parents, at least like my dad is an engineer too, he would be like, what are you doing, pick a side, like why would you be like aligned to a program which has got engineering and management? It doesn't make sense. But now I think he also sees the value because he's seeing kids now do those programs, come back to India, show their skill set and display them, right? But what was your perspective of not taking an MBA but go for this basically?
So there are few things you need to consider when you pursue MBA. Firstly, any MBA course requires experience in terms of at least going from 4 to 5 years to anywhere. It can be as long as 10 years here. So
I
I did not have that huge of an experience on my portfolio. Firstly,
Mhm.
secondly, I wanted to be in touch with the engineering aspect, because now if you see everything, like every job that you do needs to be hybrid. Like
Hmm.
it is a combination of AI with some role that you're adjacently doing, or it is a combination of being able to manage people with the aspect of technicality which you have to face. So it we have evolved from a stage where you could just do one thing, which is just engineering and being a software engineer or any sort of mechanical engineer, aerospace engineer, to becoming a manager or somebody who is able to document things, somebody who's able to manage people, somebody who's able to definitely navigate through AI at this stage.
Hmm.
Because all the industries are getting influenced. So now we are transitioning from a phase where we are just engineers or doing just one specific course to pursuing hybrid courses and exploring our options in that process.
Cool. Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
is AI one of your one of the things you studied during the management course?
So, not specifically. I feel even colleges are now starting to transition and they include AI in their curriculum, because now, if you see, most students, well, they just use AI to do their assignments, which is not ideal. You don't learn as a person anything there. I'm trying to understand, because of COVID, as many people point out, this was something that I learned in my economics course here, that the growth rate of AI was accelerated because we were in this phase of COVID.
Hmm.
And now we are at that stage where we have this great technology, but we don't know how to use it efficiently, or in a way, how do we include that in the different aspects that we face. So, um, colleges are still trying to adapt to that. So I did not have a very specific AI related course, but I was taking up different courses which are out there. So even project management can be done using AI at a
Yeah.
scale where it is ethical, but at the same time, it is something that you can use and make your life easier and faster.
That's cool.
If I can add a bit of context here, uh, this is something that a professor of mine also sort of told me, where he said if you just study engineering as a silo, where you are only doing technical courses, your development will never be holistic and you will never be able to design something which is usable for the entirety of society. Because when you make something as an engineer, you are so concentrated on how it should work. You don't really pay attention to anything else apart from that. You have to have that knowledge of uh, economics, of project management, of a little bit of ethics, a little bit of legal, a little bit of who your user is going to be. How do they respond to technology? Otherwise, you get technology like facial recognition, which does not recognize a darker skin, or an automatic soap dispenser that does not recognize people with spotty hands. So you have to have this sort of holistic development where you are not only designing a product that actually works, but it also captures the entirety of the society that you are building something for. So you also have to answer that question: am I doing the right thing? Is this ethical? So I feel like this is where hybrid courses like the one that Shloka has done are a great sort of initiative, and they are a great upgrade to what sort of courses we did, which were I feel a little more siloed.
Yeah, I think also like engineering management is kind of very close to systems engineering. I think it's got a lot of parallels to systems engineering, where maybe me being a systems engineer does not care about economic side of things, but I surely care about the budgeting and the scheduling side of engineering management, right? So, like there is a lot of parallels to it, like being a jack of all trade sort of a thing, to get a project across the line and get it finished. So in that sense, I see the value of it. It's just that it never existed during my time, I guess, and now it's becoming like a quickly a thing that is like a mainstream alternative to doing MBA. But it's still like there's a question. So yeah, I get it. Like maybe in the US to get an MBA, like you may have to have some experience to show on paper before you get into a really good MBA course. But what about India? Like India has got a very base strength in like good MBA schools and a great system to get selected in one of those schools. Like, yeah, it is kind of like JE, it's very difficult, but still there are a lot of engineers who do MBA in India from one of these good schools. So what made you choose not to go through that and choose the US basically?
That's a good question here. Because so one part of me was that I didn't want to go through the entire experience of JEE again,
Mm,
in a way. Because I feel like I had done a lot of different things during my undergrad and after my undergrad as well, and I wanted to be recognized for it.
mm,
I wanted to go to a good school because of those capabilities and those different things, and not just surely on the basis of my marks.
mm,
It was not like I would have been bad at cat. I know I can like I enjoy like looking at numbers. I might not remember a person's name, but I'll remember probably their phone number easier. It is easier for me in that sense. So, but I wanted to be recognized for my overall personality and the things I've done rather than just on surely on the basis of my marks.
mm,
And secondly, I see this as a big problem or a big challenge, I would say, that our MBA schools are still, they don't promote businesses or entrepreneurship as much as they promote getting a good job with a very big salary.
mm.
So it's coming up now. I'm glad that there are few institutions which do promote that you can build your business. It is as equally important as getting a good salary, but it's still not very prevalent, and that sort of made me evaluate: do I really want to? Is my end goal really to work at a greater institution with a big paycheck, or is it that I want to create an impact, or I want to do something which is worth people's lives and touches people's lives here?
Got it. Cool. Yeah. Uh, Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like, and when, like Ashwini rightly pointed out, that this is sort of like there is a cultural difference. So when I came here, I realized that as an engineer, when you think about it, you just think about a product because you love the product so much, but you forget to see that it should have an utility in people's lives. But when I came here, I realized you need to look at the problem first.
Mhm.
Your funding is very secondary. Your product building is also after there is a problem which exists. So I was made to think about that when I came here. And I feel you can raise funds, you can also probably build a product if you have the right set of people, or even you yourself put that efforts into learning something. But you need to understand people's problems first, even before you start loving your product. Because if you love your product, then even if you don't have any problem, or even if you don't have any solution for it, it's more like you'll just keep loving your product, developing it, and putting more resources in it.